If you have spent any time reading Jane Austen, you know she doesn't pull any punches. In Pride and Prejudice, she gives us sparkling, witty dance towards love. But in Sense and Sensibility, Austen drops us into a much darker, sharper world. I just finished rereading it, and I have been obsessed for a central question. Is there a right way to love? On one side, we have Marianne Dashwood. Her love is all-out storm, passionate, unregulated, and completely unguarded. On the other hand, we have her sister Elinor. Her love is quiet, reserved, rational, disciplined, and hidden behind a wall of social propriety. Both sisters end up nicely married by the final page. But who actually got it right? Was Marianne's raw emotion the correct path? Or Elinor's emotional breakdown the safer bet? Is there a right way at all? Now, full disclosure, when I first closed the book, I walked away thinking Sense and Sensibility was a great character study, but ultimately less of a social commentary than Pride and Prejudice. I thought Pride and Prejudice did a much heavier lifting, showing narrow economic choices women faced at that time. But after a brilliant no-punch-how debate with a close friend of mine, I have completely changed my mind. Today I want to unpack why I was wrong and how Austen uses a masterclass of flawed characters to critique her own world, and the brutal truth on how this novel actually ends. Let's look at the sisters first. Austen isn't trying to crown a winner between Elinor's sense and Marianne's sensibility. Instead, she is showing us that both of their extreme approaches almost ruin them. Marianne believes that if love isn't overwhelming, visible force, it isn't real. But her total lack of emotional guardrail leaves her utterly unprotected. When Willoughby abandons her, her grief becomes so physical, consuming, it literally almost killed her. Her sensibility even becomes a bit softish, actually very softish. She expected the entire household to revolve around her misery, completely blind to the fact that Elinor is silently suffering from her own broken heart. But then let's look at Elinor's reserve. She keeps Edward's secrets and hides her agony to spare her family. But Austen shows us the horrific internal toll of this approach. Elinor's reserve almost suffocates her. It's only when she finally breaks down in the violent, unstoppable tear near the end of the novel that we see just how unsustainable, pure, rigid Sense really is. By the final chapter, it is clear there is no single right way. The two sisters have to learn from each other. Marianne realizes she needs a little bit of Elinor's restraint to survive in the real world, and Elinor learns the value of letting her true feeling breathe. The right way to love, according to Austen, is feeling deeply, but guarded that feeling with rational judgment. What makes this book a masterpiece isn't just the romance, it's Austen's terrifyingly sharp understanding of human flaws. She understands why people do bad things and how they rationalize their greed. Take chapter 2, for example, which I think is one of the greatest chapters in literary history. The description of how John Dashwood gets talked out of giving his stepmother and stepsister a single penny is absolute genius. Fanny Dashwood doesn't just tell her husband don't give them money, she slowly, methodologically manipulates him into believing that not giving them money is actually the noble, responsible thing to do to his own son. It is devastatingly accurate description of how human greed disguised as familial duty. And then here's Willoughby. When Elinor finally breaks down Willoughby's true motivations to recovering Marianne, Austen cuts right through the romantic myth. Willoughby loved Marianne, yes, but he loves luxury more. Elinor points out a brutal psychological truth. If Marianne had married Willoughby, their initial passion would quickly curdle into resentment the second poverty sets in. And that's just so profound an observation. Austen reminds us that romantic love cannot survive in a vacuum devolved of financial security. This brings me back to my debate with my friend. Why did I change my mind about book being a lesser social commentary than Pride and Prejudice? Well, because, Pride and Prejudice is funnier and lighter. Sense and Sensibility is arguably Austen's darker, most biting piece of systematic critique. Look at what drives the entire plot. It is a legal trap called a strict settlement or an entail. Now, you could argue, like I did at first, that the sisters' poverty was just a personal choice by their wealthy old uncle. After all, the uncle had a choice regarding his saving, and he chose to leave it to John Dashwood's 4-year-old son instead of the Dashwood women, who nursed him on his deathbed. That's human flaw, right? Not the system. But my friend pushed back on me, and he was entirely right. Why did the sisters need the uncle's charity in the first place? They needed it because of the system of primogeniture, which legally stripped them of their home and their father's main income the moment he dies. In a fair system, daughters would have a legal right to share of their father's estate. In Austen's world, the system forces women to rely entirely on random generosity of men. The uncle's bad choice only ruined their life because the legal system gives them zero baseline protection of their own. And before we think, that's just how inheritance worked back then, people still do that today. Let's look at the reality. Today, the ability to create a new entail was abolished in England a century ago. More importantly, if a modern family disinherits a daughter, she can go to university, get a job, buy a house, or even sue the estate for reasonable financial provision. In 1811, Marianne and Elinor could do none of these things. A Regency disinherited woman didn't just face family drama, she faces an actual social ruin and poverty. The ultimate proof of Austen's brilliant social commentary lies in how she contrasts Edward Ferrars and John Willoughby. You could say Willoughby's actions are just down to who he was as a selfish person. After all, Edward Ferrars faced the same pressure but chose honor over money. He was willing to be disinherited by his mother just to keep his word to Lucy Steele. Edward proves that personal integrity was possible. But look at how the system treats them for their choices. This is where Austen gets incredibly cynical. Because Edward does the right thing, his mother completely disowns him, strips him of his fortune, and hands it to his arrogant younger brother. He is reduced to poverty and only survives because Colonel Brandon takes pity on him. Meanwhile, Willoughby does his monstrous thing. He breaks Marianne's heart, abandons a pregnant young girl he seduced, and marries a woman he doesn't love for her money. His punishment? He gets a glamorous estate, massive fortune, and Austen explicitly writes in the final chapter that he ends up being reasonably happy, enjoying his horses and sports. Austen is showing us that while characters dictate your choices, the system actively rewards Willoughbys of the world and punish Edwards. It is a brutal but insightful critique. So when we look at the ending, Marianne's eventual marriage to Colonel Brandon takes on a completely different light. Because Austen gives us almost no description of Marianne's internal acceptance of the marriage, we as readers have to speculate. Knowing how passionate Marianne was, I cannot but feel that she was settling for sense. Her fierce spirit was essentially breaking down by her illness and harsh reality of her financial helplessness. Therefore, she accepts a safe, fatherly figure because society left her with no other viable choices. Austen gives us a flawed system and the flawed individual who have to play in the game to survive. But now I want to turn it over to the cafe. Do you think that Marianne's marriage at the end of the book was her capitulation to being sensible? Do you think that Sense and Sensibility is equally as good a novel as the Pride and Prejudice? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I cannot wait to see how you feel about this book, how you feel about Marianne's eventual marriage. And that is the end of this video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you do, please give it a thumb up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And I shall bring quality contents just like this one to wherever you are in the world on a weekly basis. Until next time, guys, cheerio.